Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
Yeah, you're welcome along to Friday Night Racing Off the Ball, brought to you in association with Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie or follow the new Twitter account at HRI Racing, hashtag every racing moment. And today we are joined by the great D.N. Russell, aka Davy Russell, who'll be talking to us about the Hurling For Cancer charity, which of course was set up all those years ago by Jim Bulger. Essentially this involves a bunch of lads who can hurl and who can't hurl, hurling in Conlett Park in Newbridge every year for charity. Davy Russell, what bracket do you fall into of those two actually?
I can't. I want to be. I'm a wannabe hurler, so I am.
Big weekend for you with the All-Ireland semi-finals and all that, but what is your hurling background? Did you hurl at all before you were on a horse, or did you just abandon it all in favour of horse riding?
No, I was probably hurling first, and played with the schools and played with the club here at home and things like that, but was a corner back, that, you know, used to fill a gap. Good to take ankles and things like that. So I don't know, you fella more so than hurl, you know. You
were more of a traditionalist than a purist.
Yeah, I was a tight marker. I put it that way, yeah.
And lots of euphemisms there. He's definitely a traditionalist and a purist in the saddle. We have to ask you, how are you getting on? We haven't obviously seen you in the saddle since last year. You were aiming to be back for the Galway races, which is just gone, and I believe now you're aiming to be back sort of more towards September.
Yeah, sure. I was aiming to be back for Cheltenham and Aintree and everything, but it just wasn't happening for me. But to be fair, in the last kind of 6 or 8 weeks, it's become much better. So we just have a couple of more hurdles to get over, and we're nearly there.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Very busy, and and I'm in good form, good shape. It's just the odd time. But say if I slept awkwardly now, you'd know that. You'd know that there was something after happening in my neck, but other than that, it's perfect. I'm able to ride out from school and galloping horses, and whether it'll take a fall now, we'll just have to wait and see.
It's funny that you mentioned that. So like your schooling horses riding out, which in itself isn't entirely without being a strenuous exercise, but sometimes you might have a bad dream or something, and maybe then you wake up and where did that pain come from?
Yeah, there's not really pain. It's just more so their muscles are a bit. I'm doing an awful lot of work on it now, and a very good physio in Sean Deegan. So I have kind of weights on my head and things like that to strengthen my neck. The muscles in my neck all went weak, so it's not so much the bone. The surgeons and everyone were very happy with that. It's more the mechanics around that to strengthen all them back up again to what they used to be. So and when I'm working on it so hard, it can have its toll on it,
What was the extent of your fall and injury in the first place late last year?
Sure, it was just, I'd imagine I had landed bang straight on the top of my head, and so I broke C6, crushed C7 and dislocated T1. So that was it. I was very lucky. The vertebrae broke the right way after such a way. It's like a little cup around your spinal cord, and the bone broke back the way, so it broke away from the cord rather than into the cord. So I dodged a bullet really, but that's just the way it is.
Are you not absolutely mad to keep wanting to come back in light of, as you say, you dodged a bullet, could have been shot? And yes, you said you want to be back for Cheltenham, you want to be back for Galway, and you're so single-minded that you want to get back in the saddle, I suppose, despite the fact that you dodged a bullet a few months ago.
Yeah, but I suppose, look, come here, if you're in a car accident and you crash the car and you have the same injury, that's not going to stop you from driving. So riding a horse is like driving a car to me. It's very simple. It's very straightforward, and I can get my hands on some very, very talented horses. So I'd like another go at it. It's a little bit like a drug, and I really enjoy it. And I haven't enjoyed it as much in the last couple of years as I have in my whole life. So, if I get back to it and I still have that enjoyment, there's no better feeling. There's no better place to be, and surrounded by some very good people and some very talented people. So, it'd be a shame not to use it when it's there,
I remember you obviously going over to ride for Ferdy Murphy, which is what, early 2005 or 20, maybe even before that. But you've been riding a long time, and yet why is it that in recent years it has been more enjoyable maybe than it has in the previous 15 or 20?
I don't know. Sure, I suppose I was always chasing my tail as a young lad, wanting to be this and wanting to be that, and wanting to do this and wanting to do that, and then you kind of do things, and it all becomes a little bit more easier, and you mature away. And I suppose, you know, from the very start of my career, going to Leopardstown was a new experience, and now going to Leopardstown is very much, you know, I know exactly every blade of grass in Leopardstown, and I'm very comfortable around there, and all them tracks, not just at Leopardstown, but every track. I'm very comfortable in them. I can go there at my ease. And I suppose in my younger days, I suppose you're trying to prove a point, and you're trying to climb the ladder, the rungs of the ladder, and you know, you're trying not to lose any contacts in the meantime, and you're trying to, you know, you're always watching your back. There's always pressure on you from different sides, whether it's your own pressure that you're putting on yourself, or whether it's pressure coming from your ability to ride, you know.
And like, obviously you have a young family and a missus and so forth. Like, what's the conversation there? Because I suppose you're part of that, the generation of jockeys of which you're part. You know, the McCoy, Geraghty, Feely, Ruby Walsh, they have retired all in one piece, which is an important thing. And obviously you're going to hopefully go out, go out on your own terms. But what's the conversation being? Because I guess you have you have a loyalty to them as well in the next 40, 50 years of your life or whatever.
Yeah, well, I suppose none of us will retire in one piece, if you know what I mean. All the lads had their fair share. Pretty much everyone in the weight room has their fair share. So I just don't feel like I'm ready to give it up yet. I just love another rattle at it. I've spent an awful lot of my career looking for the horses that I have at my fingertips at the moment. Some very good owners that are willing to put their trust in me, and I just feel very comfortable doing it. And just was really looking forward to last season with some very, very good horses there to go to war with. And it's the same again this year. There's some very talented horses out there that I have the chance to get my leg over. And so that's it. And it's just, my wife is 100% behind me. The kids can't wait to see me back riding. So, and that's all that matters, really. I'm happy enough to go at it myself. The doctors are happy, and, so what more do I want?
Are you a fella who's scared of retirement, or are you kind of pot committed now, like a poker player? You've gone this far. I'm so far into my rehabilitation. I got to go there and get back in the saddle, because I know I'm ready, or when you are ready, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, the rehabilitation part of it, kind of, it doesn't matter whether I can get back racing or not. It's just for my own well-being. I found out that maybe, to tell you, probably the biggest problem is my weight. I was very light up until Cheltenham, and then when I didn't get there, I kind of relaxed a little bit, and I put on a bit of weight, and I felt I don't ever want to put on weight, to be honest. I felt terrible. My body wasn't the same. So now
what are we talking there, Davy, when you say put on weight from the normal person? Like a stone, or?
I don't really know, because I don't have a weighing scales. I threw that in the bin a couple of years ago. So exactly what weight I am, I couldn't tell you, but jokingly there one day I was at the vets and there was a weighing scales there, and I was over 12 stone anyway, so what that breaks down to. But I could lose a half a stone. I could lose a half a stone in overnight. So that's not my worry. So that gets me down to 11.7, and then you lose another half a stone, and it's the last 4 pounds that'll really put the squeeze on you. So I'm not too worried about that. But I was fit. I was hard fit, ready for Cheltenham. Now I was strong, and I was, my core was there, and then I kind of let that go a little bit. I was shocked and disappointed not to ride in Cheltenham, to be honest. And so just trying to get all that back, the fitness back, and the real hard, because if you're going to get a fall, it doesn't matter what kind of fall you get, you have to be solid. Do you know what I mean? Your body has to be rock hard, and you have to be fit to be able to get back up from them, you know.
Just fascinated you said that about the weight. What was off-putting about that feeling that you got, which is probably a bit alien to you because you've been thin for so long? Why did it feel so different that you said, I don't really want to feel like this?
Yeah, it is alien, and I didn't really ever think that I would get fat anyway. I was kind of, I don't mean fat, but I mean bigger than what I was. But all my life I have been slim, very slim, and been working on it from day to day. And, you know, I was always moving and able to go and able to do whatever I wanted. And I'd say I put on a good stone anyway, you know, plus, and lost the energy, lost the mobility, and lost to get through the whole day. You know, my days were different to what I was used to, so I'd be very hard to know exactly whether it was all weight related. But definitely, the one thing I'll take from all of this is I won't ever get fat, as in heavy. It's the one thing I would, and it's not about dieting or anything like that. It's all about, you know, eating the right stuff. So basically, I was eating all the wrong stuff, and eating plenty of the wrong stuff. You know, I enjoyed myself while I was off. So, but it's all about eating the right stuff and keep the weight off yourself.
An awful lot of people are in the cycle of eating the wrong stuff as well.
Oh, absolutely. I tell you, sure, we could go on for the day, but, you know, it's just the nature of our country. It's motorways now, and it's motorway food, and for me, driving anyway, you know, and the day of going into a town, stopping and getting a proper meal is gone. Everybody's in a rush, and I don't think the facilities that are there on the motorways for us to have a proper balanced diet. So I rely on my wife. I eat healthily in the morning, and I don't eat then until I get home. So, you know, I just try and bypass all them shops and things. But it's just a nature of the country, the way it's gone, with the way we bypassed all these towns, and we're relying on these petrol stations, and that's it. You know, people don't drive into towns anymore and get a dinner.
You've touched on a really good point there. We could have a Splinter show on that today. I remember when they brought out pre-packaged beans on toast that you put into the toaster there a few years ago, and I think this is a step too far. I mean, we should absolutely give so much time of our lives to eating, because A, it's enjoyable, B, it's so important, and C, we'll all die. So what are we actually doing here except but to enjoy the food that we eat? Here's a question for you, Davy. The second one now, I'm fascinated by your answer. The first one, I wonder, can Davy cast his mind back to when he was a young jockey looking at jockeys his, dare I say, advanced age now? Was he intimidated by those older riders? Does he use the old reputation to stamp his authority on races when he's up against younger jockeys now? And he might as well have been on about your early hurling life when you were playing maybe lads who were a little bit younger than you.
Yeah, I suppose I looked up. I had huge respect for the older jockeys in the Wareham, and to be fair, they were all great fellas. You know, I'd like to Ken Whelan and you know, I suppose Philip Fenton was a huge part of my life growing up, because I started as an amateur, and a lot of them lads in the weight tent, you know, with the likes of Tom Lumbert and Owen Gallagher, and their names that the general racing public have never heard of, but they set the tone for me. They were very, you know, polished men, you know. There was women there at the time. Liz Doyle was a very good rider, and Joanna Morgan and the likes before them. But really, when I was growing up, the older lads, I looked up to them. I didn't fear them in any way, shape or form, but I respected them.
So this question, and I hope you can relate to this, from Rob. That previous question was from Desi, by the way. This is from Rob. I'm jumping across sports now, but did Davy see Natalia Coyle in the show jumping? What in God's name did he make of the quality of the nag she had to get up on? I don't know if you saw this, Davy. I've in and out of the Olympics, but I thought this was absolutely astonishing. I mean, God himself couldn't get this horse to jump.
Yeah, I didn't see the whole round, but I saw the incident, and I suppose that's probably where the deserving of the gold medal, why it's so hard to get a gold medal in that discipline. Natty was doing a very, very good job up until what happened, and it basically was what I feel there was a confusion there between rider and horse, and I'd be 100% sure that Natalie done nothing wrong, that it was entirely the horse's decision to do what happened. She set the horse up perfect for the fence, but he had just had no brain to go down and do what he was supposed to do. It was a very stupid thing what the horse done. She done an incredible thing. I don't know how she stayed on him for as long as she did, but he didn't look Olympic standard horse to my eye anyway. But again, I suppose you can't really complain. That's the cards are dealt. I think it's a free draw for what horse you get. Is that right?
Yeah, my understanding, obviously there was a rider before who had the horse and do the round, obviously, and the horse basically wouldn't jump that triple jump or whatever it was. But like, I suppose what struck me was that, you know, I would have known her was somebody with a sword in her hand. She was a fencer, but she's obviously, pentathlon's a different ball game. She'd swim before that, she'd a laser run afterwards. It's an amazing ability to be able to do so many sports like that well, because you can tell people show jumping obviously isn't easy.
Oh no, it's very technical. It's an incredible. It's a specialised side of the equestrian world, and obviously we saw Keane O'Connor, and they're at the very elite side of it now. And what they can do with horses is phenomenal. And Natalie obviously is a very accomplished rider. So to be honest, for me to go into a show jumping ring, I wouldn't be as good as Natalie. You know what I mean? It takes an awful lot of work, and you have to change your whole ethos about the way you ride and the different muscles you use and the way you set a horse up for a fence. So you can just imagine it's like driving, or what it's like, I don't know what it's like, but you have to have the contact as well as your leg on the horse, so you're pushing and pulling at the same time, and to get both right, it's a very difficult thing to get right. So she had her legs squeezed on the horse. She had to have the contact on the horse's mouth, and the horse just wasn't due. He just didn't read the signals correctly, and there was a breakdown there. But show jumping is an incredibly technical event, as in what goes on from what the rider is doing to the horse, on the way they can measure strides, on the way a show jumper can land at the back of an obstacle and know exactly the amount of strides it's going to take him to get to the next obstacle. And he's only after seeing that course probably within the hour to read all of these things. But they're so good. Their eye is so good. And it comes natural to a lot of them lads. So it's very difficult on Natalie to be a very, very good show jumping rider when she has to concentrate on so many other events to be very, very good at. Obviously, she's very good at fencing and the rest. So, but she was just unfortunate with the horse that she got partnered with.
Fascinating insight from Davy Russell. Friday Night Racing is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland, and obviously Davy's here for many reasons, but he's been one of the Hurling for Cancer captains since inception. Features jockeys, hurlers, sports and TV personalities, and obviously the match every year is played in Newbridge. This year, because of the pandemic, it hasn't taken place, but there's an online auction, and if you want to bid on some fantastic auction prizes, these are some of the prizes. Signed 2021 Ancient Grand National race card by Rachel Blackmore, signed Dublin GAA and Irish rugby jerseys, yard visits with Johnny Murtagh and Henry de Bromhead. I'd highly recommend both of them. VIP trip to the Longines Irish Champions Weekend, what's not to like? Luxury overnight stays at the Lyra Estate Hotel in Mount Juliet, and Mondello motorsport racing experience, and lots of racing memorabilia. The full list of auction items is now available to view at www.galabid.com/hurling for cancer. The auction closes Tuesday, August 10th at 9 p.m. And yeah, this is something that's quite close to your heart, Davy.
It is very much so, yeah. And there's a very special one in there. A trip up Lough Derg with the great Ronnie O'Leary, whose nephew will be playing in Croke Park on Sunday for Cork. So that's a special one as well. People could get a trip up Lough Derg with the singing train.
Ronnie is a character.
Ronnie is a character, and his brother is a bigger character, so it runs in the family. His brother is a farrier down here. He's from Castlelyons, so young Niall is playing for cornerback for Cork, Ronnie's nephew. So tis a great event what Jim and myself have organised, and we're up over the million marker for over the past couple of years, and it's just amazing the way people have latched onto it and have helped us along the way. Una, Jim's daughter, is very, very much plays a big part of it. And then everybody that donates all of these, this only started last year. I got a call from a guy in England, Tom Morgan, who used to ride. He knows the man that we the gala bit, and we put it together, and we raised a good few quid last year, and it looks like we're going to do the same. But we need people to get stuck into the prizes and the auction. So there's some marvelous gifts on there, and they could be for anything, for anybody, for all walks of life, little and large.
Yeah, and you spoke about the amount of money that's been raised. Obviously, the pancreatic cancer research when Pat Mullen was sick was astonishing. I think racing's been galvanised of late by John Hassett's GoFundMe page for his own cancer treatment, a rare form of lung cancer with John Hassett, which entailed going over to Germany, and 250 grand was raised between Friday and Monday, which is truly astonishing. And racing has a lot to be proud of, I think, Davy, in this stuff, which has absolutely nothing to do with racing, but just humanity in general.
Yeah, but sure, we all kind of like each other. We all get on.
Do we?
Well, yeah, we do.
The odd bit.
Behind it all. And nobody wants to see anybody. But you see, the likes of poor Johnny there, he had a cough. And that's all he had. And, it ended up being cancerous. And fingers crossed now, he seems to have an 80% chance of beating this. And when you're in a position, I'm not saying that I'm any big sports person or anything, but people know my name, and when you can put your name to something to raise money for the likes of a cancer charity, because there's not a family in Ireland, there's not a family in the world that cancer doesn't affect. So everybody feels it, and everybody feels that they're able to, if they can add a little bit to help it in any way, shape or form, and that's all we're doing. And it's cancer research, so that maybe this money is going towards that someday all cancers will be cured. And since we started this up until now, there has been huge breakthroughs in curing cancer, and the money that we're raising will play a little part to play in that, and that eventually we'll be clear of all cancers. And someday that's the mark we have to aim for. That and until we get there, you can't stop. So this is the little bit that we can do to help. And whatever, if it saves one life, the $2,000 that someone's going to give to go up the lake, the million or the 2 million or the 20 million that we're going to raise, isn't it worth every penny of it?
Have you ridden for Gerald Lynch actually?
In Galway? Jesus, I may have rode one horse for him. Yeah, great man. He's a taxi. Is he taxi? No, sorry. Yeah, he's not. We were driving home from Galway one day, and we were driving past this lorry, and there was flames coming out from underneath the lorry. And we drove up, and it was Gerald Lynch was driving it, so we started waving at him to pull in, and Gerald started waving back at us. To say that, how are you going, lads? And next thing we got his phone number, we rang him and we said, Jared, the boxes, the horses are going to be burned, the box on fire. I know they're absolutely flying, he said. He thought we were talking about their well-being. And so he got back and luckily there was nothing happened, but that was my encounter with Gerald Lynch. I
didn't hear that story before. Gerald was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer 2 or 3 years ago, and I spoke to him on the phone the other day, and he's absolutely thriving. So people who do get cancer, just keep the faith that things can turn around, and Gerard is definitely an example of that. Before you go, will Cork be on fire against Kilkenny, and will it be enough? I don't know how they do it year after year after year. They don't have the population in Kilkenny. Now granted, they don't really play anything else, a bit like Mayo on the football, they dedicate their lives to winning All-Irelands or whatever. Will Cork beat Kilkenny though?
I should look to a common denominator there with Kilkenny and his Brian Cody, and they love their hurling up there, and hopefully now we'll get a good game of hurling Sunday. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you going?
I am. I've some great contacts there around the country, so I've been well looked after.
I'd love to know who's in your pod.
No, I'm been very well looked after. It'll be I might even be able to throw a bit of abuse at Brian Cody. So I'll be
you're going to throw in the ball there the way you were talking.
Yeah, well, I might. I'd nearly get it. Yeah, I'm bang on the middle of the field. So I'm very much looking forward. I love my hurling, and Cork have a lovely team, and they're coming away. They're in the underage of flying. So. It'd be great to give the Kilkenny a shake up anyway. We'll see what happens.
You can't shout at Brian Cody, surely.
No, I wouldn't dare. He's a great man. He's a part. He plays a big part in Hurling for Cancer, and he gives his time every year. So we couldn't say a word to Brian.
As do you, Davy. It's great talking to you, and can't wait to see you back. One of the true greats of your riding generation, and hope to see you back soon.
Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was, and I do use this word genuinely here, the great Davy Russell. What a rider. It's been a long battle for him to try and get back in the saddle. He is part of a generation of jockeys that sadly have retired, but I say sadly with the proviso of the fact that maybe not in one piece, as Davy said. Like, I didn't break 40 bones in my body like these characters that are basically the legends of the game, but they're definitely living to fight on and live a great life, living their best life actually, after retiring in the saddle. The 10 to follow. There have been developments, and I didn't come up with this script, but Lionel Messi isn't the only one on the move this week, as and in brackets Johnny, has displaced Ger in the Tote 10 to follow thanks to 17 points from Turnawa at Leopardstown yesterday. Now, Davy, of course, would have ridden for Dermot well many times, ridden many winners. Turnawa, brilliant forms at Leopardstown. This all means that I have now taken second place, but only by 3 points. Tom Malone still has a massive lead, but we will try and reel him in. Visit tote.ie to receive a 10% boost on all Irish and UK dividends with Tote Plus. So yeah, bit of a chance, I suppose, some sort of chance of maybe reeling in Tom. And that is our lot on Friday Night Racing.